You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. What is your biggest struggle right now? What do you keep getting tripped up over? What are you stuck on? And what is your plan for getting out of the weeds? Do you need a weed whacker? Or do you need someone to give you a path, give you a program or a plan to get you from where you are to where you want to be? Today's guest is really interesting because here's what he does. He helps entrepreneurs and founders get out of the weeds. Get out of the weeds. Isn't that a wonderful tagline, a wonderful mission? And I think it speaks to so many of us who get caught up in the business and the busyness of business, and we put in time and energy and effort and money, and it seems like we're running in quicksand. If that's you, then stay tuned because I'll be speaking with Chase Damiano. He is a business coach and consultant helping founders get out of the weeds. His clients want to accelerate revenue and gross profit and build a well-oiled machine. He helps them achieve that without breaking the organization or breaking themselves. He is a former COO of a venture-backed startup and an ex-Accenture consultant. Chase, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Hey, Ralph, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for stopping by and sharing your expertise with us. I think with the setup, we instantly, if we have been in that place you describe as in the weeds, I think we instantly understand what it is you do, but indulge us. Describe for us what it means to be in the weeds and how do you help people in that situation?
Oh, yes, in the weeds. Well, what is in the weeds? Let's start by what does being in the weeds feel like? So being in the weeds is really that feeling where you're getting 300 emails a day and you feel tied. You feel tied to your inbox. Being in the weeds means that your clients or your customers want to work specifically with you and not necessarily your company. Being in the weeds means that you may have built and grown a team, but you're still learning to establish trust with that team. Maybe you feel that the team is not quite ready to take on the opportunities that you see ahead. Being in the weeds means that you are inside of your own business as a piece of the business architecture, as opposed to the mechanic who works on the engine itself. So that tends to be what the resulting feelings end up being are a lot of stress, maybe being stuck in it. Maybe you're working 60 to 80 hours a week. Maybe it always has this feeling of needing to be connected to your company, never being able to take a vacation. And that is where I was at once in a previous life. I've experienced that problem firsthand myself in my first startup venture, and it's a tough place to be. It's really isolating. It's really challenging, and it feels like there's no end in sight. And in addition, it also feels like it's a fundamental must of the journey itself, that there's no other pathway around it, that you must simply go through building a business in that manner. And the work that I do accepts an alternate story where we do not need to have that relationship with the companies that we are building. And it starts with deep understanding of the challenges that are facing the business and getting into the root cause as to why these things are the way they are. I like to build business systems with my clients and help others see that there's a different way.
I love that. And what you described, working in the business instead of working on the business, that really harkens back to Michael Gerber, who is one of my mentors and one of the ones, along with Jay Abraham and others, who contribute to this idea of the Rebelpreneur. It's breaking the rules first and foremost, ethically and morally, but breaking the rules, breaking through the mindset that says this is the way business is. It means, as Gerber would say, doing it, busy, 60, 80 hours a week, working in the business instead of working on the business. So that's the first distinction of helping to transform us from employees in our own businesses to founders, CEOs, leaders. And to do that, we have to approach the business very differently and set up the very things that you're talking about, to get out of the weeds and focus on building a well-oiled machine. How did you get started helping entrepreneurs and founders to do this? What's your story?
Sure. And just want to note, shout out to Michael Gerber as well. E-Myth Revisited. Yes. I read it many, many years ago. It was a great book. It changed my perspective. So appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So how did I get started doing this? So about 5 years ago, I was fortunate enough to play the role of chief operating officer of a very small, at the time, company here based out of the DC area, partner with an amazing founder and be able to grow and scale the enterprise. Went through a lot of different pivots, a lot of different business models, a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall, a lot of trial and error, and a whole lot of learning. As with any startup journey, it is really more of a mental marathon, and we must invest into ourselves in some way in order to perform at the levels that the business is asking us to perform at. Well, I didn't do those things. I was in a leadership position. I had gotten that position because I had been in my previous life a great individual contributor. So very, very strong execution, primarily coming from my background with Accenture, but I made a terrible manager. I was a terrible leader. The team that I worked with could sometimes be either unhappy or unmotivated, super strong performers, but I feel that I did not rally them in the way that I could have. I became unhappy over time. I started burning out, and I sought another pathway. So I hit a transition point when it was at its worst. I was managing 8 or 9 direct reports at the director or manager level. This is when the company was earning somewhere between $3 and $4 million per year, and we had about 70 people on the team. So I was managing a lot of directors and mid-level managers, and I hit this big transition point where I had to change my mindset around being a strong individual contributor and more into a strong leader. So I had to treat management and leadership as its own practice, proactively, as its own independent discipline, in which I had to recognize that I, at that point, was underqualified. So I applied lessons in leadership and management that I had learned I voraciously tore through every book on the topic that I could get, every podcast, every article, just started investing heavily into that area, and it completely changed my life. It made the team happier, helped me focus on the right things as opposed to everything, and it elevated my overall thinking in the company. And for this reason, this is exactly why I do. This experience is why I do what I do. Being a founder, an early employee, someone with a seat at the table is extremely tough. It's super hard. Building a business was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And it's an incredibly lonely journey as well. And my suspicion and what I continuously uncover with other founders that I meet, other executives, small teams and large teams alike, is that this is a common challenge.
Why is that such a challenge for people? What are your thoughts on that?
Why is it a challenge? So I think it's a challenge for the same reasons why entrepreneurship and self-startedness as a practice is attractive. So we are, as Michael Gerber would put it, we are the technician. We are the one that is providing the good or the service, and it is our passion, and we're really, really good at it. And people reward us for being good at that thing. People say, hey, maybe you should start a company around this, or wow, where can I get more of that? Giving entrepreneurial people a indicator that there could be something more. And so you start getting into it. Eventually, if it goes well, you're leaving your full-time job. And then you're starting, what you already have on your plate is the doing of the thing. And by the thing, I mean the product or service that you are delivering to your customers. So already, fundamentally, day one, it is on your plate. Day one. So we grow the company. Now we're starting to get more into back office, customer acquisition, customer retention. We're starting to build a team. We're starting to hire. We're starting to concern ourselves more with bottom line performance instead of just top line. We're thinking about raising capital. We're thinking about expanding into different markets. We're thinking about website marketing, everything else. Yet the delivery of that product or service sometimes might stay on our plate because it was there by default. So sometimes releasing that product or service is challenging because people seek you independently for that product or service and the quality. That's why you got into business in the first place. So there becomes some sort of attachment to it. Or maybe because it's your passion, you don't want to let it go because that's why you got into this in the first place. And I think some founders struggle with that and have to reconcile. It's like, why did I enter the business in the first place? Am I here to build a lifestyle, do my passion, be essentially a creative director, innovator inside my own company? Or am I here to build a large enterprise? Am I here to be a CEO? Am I here to grow a company or serve a mission that is well beyond myself? And I don't think I'm positioning it as those two things, not necessarily being mutually exclusive, but I think that some combination of the two could be the answer for some for folks that don't see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Very, very insightful. And let me toss this out at you as yet another alternative paradigm or a different model. And I'm thinking about someone who genuinely is talented and gifted in what they do, so much so that they are irreplaceable. And let's use Elvis as an example. So that's the creative talent. But Elvis did his thing. He sang his songs and did his entertaining and performing. But Elvis wasn't sitting, going home at night, going over the books and trying to figure out how to make this business work and doing the bookings and talking to networking and trying to get all the logistics of his equipment here and there. He had people for that. He had a huge business that is still generating income today, long after his death, because he had a business system in place, recognizing that he couldn't really build a team of people to help him sing. He was the talent. And maybe that's another way to think of it, that if you really are that unique and you really are that essential, still recognize that if you're going to be in that position, in the creative position, you can't at the same time expect that you're going to be able to run your business single-handedly. You still need a team regardless, whether you're in the CEO, building the team, building the the mechanism for delivering the product and service, or if you basically are the product and you have a team of support people on your payroll who are helping you to do your thing, but you can't do both and you can't do everything. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think that's 100% right. And that paradigm is certainly that one I like is when we as entrepreneurs, creative professionals, CEOs, whatever hat that we are wearing, when we focus on our strengths and we focus on what makes us unique and we focus on our own individual secret sauce, that value add that we give to our employers or our companies or our customers, our investors, whomever they are, then we have an opportunity to double down on those and surround ourselves with people that augment or offload our weaknesses from us. So by partnering, exactly what you said, Ralph, is when we surround ourselves by individuals who can do things that they can do, it frees us up to focus on the things that only we can do.
That's it. That's the key.
And then by doing so, that's the key. And then by doing so, we create a high degree of trust with the people that we work with because we're literally relying on them and they are literally relying on us.
Now, so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, which is it? Am I supposed to be the talent that's getting things done and building the business around me with a support team? Or am I supposed to be in the CEO spot directing everything from above? And the answer is you can be whatever you want to be, but the key is that you decide that you are playing to your strengths, that you are bringing in other people to support you. I don't care where you are in the business. You can be the face of the business. You can be the performer, the entertainer, the actor, the actress with the business support behind you. Or if you want to be the CEO, the founder, and that's where you really get your excitement from, that's where your gifts are, go for it. The point is, don't get lost in the weeds doing something that isn't fulfilling, isn't helping you, that's taking your life instead of giving you more life. That's another Gerberism. It brings me to the next question that I want to circle back to. I think that if we are in the weeds, we intuitively recognize it. Something's not clicking. Something's just off. We're not having fun. We're getting burned out, or whatever the case is in our business, in our life, or in our ability or inability to balance life and business and to synergistically work them together. The point is, if we're not on track and we're off in the weeds, we intuitively know it. Question is, what do you recommend? What are some things that people can do if they realize, hey, that's me, or this is beginning to be me, or I want to avoid this altogether? But what are some things that we can start thinking about, maybe some principles or key thoughts you could share with us?
Sure. And this is a perfect question because it ties back to some of our previous points too. So the things that we could be doing in order to get out of the weeds, which really is us having our head down, looking at what's before us in the present moment, and also a little bit into the past. We want to look more into the future, is to clarify what you want. And you had mentioned that before. It's like, it's really, we as entrepreneurs and self-starters, founders, we are artists at a blank canvas, and we can paint the picture that we are striving to see in the world. And that picture, it's a purpose, and it's also a goal. It's some end point. That goal is called a vision. So having a clear vision of where are we going? What's the end goal? What's the point of all of this? Who are the people that we help? Why are we helping those people? Most companies don't have a documented vision.
That's really hard that's hard to believe after, and you should know, I mean, you have been not just in the COO position, but as a former Accenture consultant, you're out there working with businesses, and you would think by now they would all have a vision and a mission. And you're saying that most of them still haven't even done that basic step.
Yeah, I see it, especially within, because I work a lot with smaller, early stage, mid stage company. There's a belief that because we are so small, we can keep tight communication within our small teams. And therefore, in lieu of having a documented vision, we will just maintain a status quo. However, a clicking point has to happen as the team grows, as we're onboarding people rapidly, as we have to make selections for what are the right customers, the right markets, the right clients that we work with. Usually the vision is sometimes left behind. And I'm not talking about just having a vision statement. Jim Collins once said, this is not about having a nice sounding vision statement. This is about going on a mission. This is about getting people rallied about some sort of common end goal, some sort of destination in mind. It's like we're traveling somewhere, whether it's a specific end point, I'm going to climb Mount Everest, or it's a general direction, I'm going to follow this northern star, in which you cannot actually obtain the end goal, right? So it's more about setting some sort of like, what is the rallying cry? Like, why are we here and what are we actually doing at the end of the day is sometimes a underlooked area to help boost and create more purpose and employee engagement even across your team. You know, we talk about sometimes why can't I get my team to take more ownership or responsibility in my company? From their perspective, it's really, okay, is this what I'm doing a job, or is this what I'm doing a way of life? And it's a really big difference. And when people really feel that we are all in this together towards some common outcome, then it unlocks a lot of potential.
Absolutely. So and you know, it doesn't have to be very complex. It doesn't have to be complicated. For example, the vision I have in my mind is what the motto is for the show. Build the business you need so you can live the life you want. Now, that's the vision. That's the end result. That's what I'm working towards every day. And then the mission is going to be, all right, well, what are the steps you're going to take to make that vision a reality? And you can get as detailed as you want, but you can keep it also very simple. It's a simple idea, but it's something that it goes beyond just the written statement. It's something that you're living your life and working your business towards so that there's a point. And it's something that inspires not just you, but inspires all those that you come into contact with.
You got it. Mine is that I know how tough it is being entrepreneur. It's extremely difficult. And it's an extremely lonely journey. Sometimes we feel we have to put on a mask in front of our customers, our employees, our investors, and be this person that we are not. Our friends and families sometimes tell us, why are you working on the weekends? Why are you working on all the time? And sometimes even our own friends and families cannot relate well to the lifestyle that we are choosing by taking on this path. And that's tough. That's hard. And my vision is to help entrepreneurs solve that and reconcile that so that they can reclaim their lives, as you had put it, so they can live the lives that they want by design as opposed to by default.
Yes.
So it sounds like we have very similar visions there, Ralph.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we start out saying the purpose of this business, again, back to Gerber, I mean, I think we've been reading from the same material, attended the same seminar, sat under the same mantra. But the idea is, I'm not in business because I just want the status of being a business owner. The purpose of a business, Gerber says, is to give you more life. but you have to design your business intentionally to give you more life, because if you don't, it will do the opposite. Your business will take the life that you've got.
Yes, I love that.
That's the inspiration for Rebelpreneur. We're going to build the business we need so we can live the life we want. And if you start with that vision and work backwards, then it tells you, here's the type of life I want, so here's the kind of business I need. Here's the type of clients I need. And by default, by contrast, here's the ones I don't want. Here's the monies I need to make, and here's what I need to charge. Well, how can I create value that is 10 times what I'm charging so that people will instantly see the value of what I do? All of that is a strategy that is based upon a vision of how you want your life to be. And, I probably in your situation too, but in my situation, thinking back to working in agencies and working with clients and all of the things that I didn't want helped me to create that vision of what I do want, who I do want to work with, the work I'm really good at, the work that I'd rather not do, the work that I'd rather not take on. The point is, think about these things. Consciously decide and think about what it is you intend to create. Think about the difference you intend to make in the world. Make it intentional. Get clear about what you want. You said that's the first thing. So if we've got that lesson down, what's the next step for getting out of the weeds?
Sure. So the next one here is it's best for folks that have teams, but as founders, entrepreneurs, we need to start thinking of our teams as more than just subcontractors or W-2. Our team are also our partners and vendors, people that are helping us achieve our vision. Our teams are also our customers. It's like they're the ones that are the beneficiaries of what we do, that pay us for the value that we provide. All of these are our investors as well. Everyone, all of it is part of the team. So it's beyond just like what a traditional definition of team might be.
Sure.
So part of that team is really clarifying responsibility and decisions. What decisions can your team make on without your approval or on their own? So what I mean by that is just getting really clear on what they can do and what they can't do. Because this is what happens when you're an employee of a fast-growing startup or company. We want those employees to be self-starters. We want them to take on responsibility. We want them to do more, be able to give them a lot and grow with us. That's the dream. But sometimes, inevitably, what happens is a mistake. So that mistake, when that mistake is made, how we react to that mistake essentially indicates what their future relationship with the concept of mistakes is going to be in the context of you being the leader. So if you shoot down errors and say, do better next time, or maybe you're not ready for this, or take back the work that you had given them, we are taking away their decision-making authority. We're taking away their responsibilities. And by doing so, they're never going to grow. Your plate gets more full. And the team member now, even though their life is now easier, they're not growing at the same rate that the company needs to be growing at.
Sure.
So I'm a fan of giving decision-making authority to team members and then not taking it away. It's all about coaching them to get better at doing their jobs in accordance with that master plan, the vision ahead. So
yes.
Let team members figure out how best to accomplish the vision. Sometimes when we hire, we all say that we have the best people sometimes, yet internally, sometimes we can treat them like children. And but everyone is adult in a room. Everyone can handle it. And people join your mission because they see opportunity there.
Well,
let them figure out how.
Absolutely. And, most people don't like to be micromanaged. And for a leader, and so you're in Washington, D.C. I went to university in Washington, D.C. We understand politics and good leadership and bad leadership. Good leadership recognizes we can't direct a war from our office in Washington, D.C. We need to give decision-making authority to the people in charge on the ground wherever they are. If it's the general overseas, if it's the ambassador in an embassy someplace, they need to have some level of autonomy to be able to make their own decisions because they're working and dealing with the problem. And if we take that lesson and apply it to business, it means not micromanaging people. You bring in good people, but you inspire them with the vision, and then you empower them to go and figure out what's the best way to make this happen. And correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't that free up a lot of my brain power? And it creates this synergy here. And that helps to get me out of the weeds a little bit quicker, doesn't it?
Oh, that's right. I like to, and so that's a combination of delegation, clear delegation, but also coaching and empowerment. So if I give, here's the problem that I need you to solve, and here's the decisions that you can make on getting that solved, that instantly frees me up to help them, but not by taking responsibility away. Mm-hmm. It's by coaching them and mentoring them to help them shape their decision making. But ultimately, the decision is owned by them because you gave it to them.
I love that.
So one other tip, if you identify as not being great at delegation, do not worry. It is a skill and it can be developed. Sometimes it might be uncomfortable. I recommend everyone build this skill. Executives have to be very clear about the work others can be helping with, so that it frees them up to do the work that only they can do, the types of things that cannot be delegated. And that equation changes as the business progresses. You might be willing to delegate lower level tasks early on in the business, but then as the business grows, really, really large initiatives, projects, or strategic thinking can be delegated to the C-suite or other vice presidents. So it's more about this process and this pathway of continuously freeing up your plate so that you can think about the bigger picture and see things more clearly.
Very, very well said. Our time is just about gone. It's probably gone overboard, but this is so good and so engaging, and I think that it actually will create a lot of value for people. That mental image of being lost out in the weeds is just so dynamic, and I think it speaks to so many people. How would working with you, Chase, really improve founders, entrepreneurs, CEOs' chances for success as opposed to trying to figure this out on their own?
Sure. It's been in a lot of ways that we've discussed. Teams that work with me tend to grow their revenue, their bottom line, their margins much more quickly and also predictably, because we're starting to think more into the future on what could be possible as opposed to what is. They tend to also have more positive work cultures, primarily because real, open, honest conversations are actually being had in a non-confrontational way. We want to identify who is strong at what and who is weak at what, and then assemble the team in a superior way so that people can be focused more on what they're good at in the road ahead. And then, you hit the nail on the head, creating this well-oiled machine. And it's really putting the right systems and processes in place that permanently resolve recurring headaches. I like founders and leadership teams to be focused on doing a task once and then creating process so that it is done every time thereafter. And it sometimes doesn't work as cleanly, but that's the end goal. Once we establish systems and processes, now we can work on those systems and processes to deliver better results for our business.
Excellent, excellent advice. Well, this has been very educational and I think very motivational for those of us who struggle with that. And I think we have all struggled, or we still do all struggle from time to time with trying to do everything ourselves. So remember, if you are a solopreneur or a rebelpreneur, your team is not just your employees. You may not have any employees right now. Maybe your model of business says, I don't want employees, and that's great, but think about it in terms of a team to include your partners, your clients, your investors, affiliates, people who refer other people to you. There's lots of other people on your team. And the point is to use those people to leverage your time, energy, money, get to where you want to be. And the bottom line for all of it is what? To create more value for them. It's not just taking, it's giving. And so this has been really, really incredible. And I appreciate you coming on the show to talk about it with us, Chase. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us with as a final takeaway?
Sure. So we talked a little bit today about being clear on what we want. But I also would like to add is we do not have to let our happiness be defined by the things that we want. Sometimes no matter how clear we are with what we want or how hard we try to get what we want, sometimes we do not get what we want. Or we have what we wanted, but then we lose it. Or we have what we wanted, and now we want something else. And sometimes the feeling of we tend to focus more on this destination. Once I have the things I want, I will then be happy, then be satisfied. And I would like to share that we do not have to let our own personal happiness or sense of well-being be tied to these desires. The best thing anyone can ever do as a leader, an entrepreneur, a self-starter, anyone, is to accept themselves, accept the way that things are, and find happiness through it, no matter what. But once that happens, we suddenly may find ourselves with the energy, the peace, the motivation, and the love to help others. So really, at the end of the day, this is about putting your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. And that frees us up to be the change that you wish to see in the world.
I love it. Very well said. Chase Damiano is a business coach and consultant who helps founders and entrepreneurs get out of the weeds. His clients want to accelerate revenue and gross profit and build a well-oiled machine. And if you would like to connect with him and with his ideas and see some examples of his work with other companies, go check out the website, chasedamiano.com. We'll have that link on the Rebelpreneur website as well. Chase, thank you so much for your time on Rebelpreneur Radio. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ralph. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.